Welcome to the Ben Mulroney Show. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, July 2nd. If you had a great Canada Day celebration, or maybe you did absolutely nothing, I hope you had a great day yesterday. Time to jump right into the news. All right, prior to Canada Day, the day before yesterday, we showed you a clip of a Canadian country star named Josh Ross. And he was at a music festival in the United States where he made a bold announcement. He's a Canadian who lives in the States, and here's what he had to say then.
I'm Canadian. You want to know the best fun fact? Is I moved to the best country in the world, and I love it very much. USA! USA! USA!
All right, well, his Canadian fans did not like that very much. My personal take on it was he wasn't denigrating Canada. He was elevating the States. So I didn't take too much of an issue with that. And look, when he said he was Canadian, he got a big, rousing applause from the audience. Like, it wasn't, he didn't get booed, but he decided to wave the American flag. My issue was with his accent. He's Canadian. He's been in the States for a few years. And he said, he's like, I moved to the greatest country in the world. Greatest country in the world. Dude, you're from Southern Ontario. You're from Southern Ontario. I lived in North Carolina for 4 years. My accent didn't change one iota. The only thing that changed in my way of speaking is I gained a real appreciation for the contraction y'all. It's just a great expression, and everyone says it down there. And so I used it because it made life so much better. But my niece and nephew live in North Carolina. They still sound like they're from the GTA. All right. So that was him a few days ago. This was him yesterday.
I'm sorry to anybody who's offended by what I said. I'm grateful I get to tour all over the world, and I feel like I'm always representing Canada no matter where I go. I'm born and raised in Canada, but I've been living in Nashville for the last 5+ years. Half my family lives in Canada. The other half is here in the U.S., and I'm as proud of establishing myself in the U.S. as I am being Canadian. Both sides were not communicated in the clip that you guys are seeing, and I'm sorry that wasn't clear.
I'm not going to pile on this guy for any other reason except he's sorry. He's sorry. He's not sorry. He's not sorry that he got caught. He's sorry. And he's sorry. And he's come on, dude. Like that's some code switching right there, to use the parlance of our time. But anyway, listen, I wish him the best of luck. And he wasn't denigrating Canada. He was uplifting America. He was in America. All he was doing was sucking up to Americans. And that's not a bad thing, right? Because it happens every day. If our prime minister can do it, then surely Josh Ross can do it. And you'll remember when our prime minister did it a few weeks ago, calling the president of the United States, this man who apparently was the greatest existential threat to our nation ever. He was celebrated as feted by our prime minister as a transformational leader. And the people lining up to defend our prime minister were myriad. This, of course, you've got to do that. You got to play the game. But the end result is going to be a better trade deal for Canada. Because we got the best guy at the table. He thinks in 4 dimensions. He's 3 steps ahead of the president, no matter what. And so on Sunday night, when we found out that the digital services tax in Canada that was going to come into effect 2 days ago, that the president said was a sticking point, we said, no, we're still doing it. We got to protect Canada. It's going to help us bring $7 billion into the coffers of the Treasury over 5 years. We're sticking with it. Well, then the president cut off all trade negotiations and said, yeah, sorry, well, that's not happening. We told you we didn't like it. And so what did our prime minister do? An about face. What did we get for it? Absolutely nothing. Here is our prime minister talking about capitulating.
We saw some challenges this week, even a suggestion that Canada has caved. Are you going to be able to get a deal done in time, Prime Minister?
We'll see. We're doing what's necessary in order to get the best deal for Canadians, and we get the best deal for Canadians, we'll agree to it. If we can't, we won't. I mean, it's that simple. We are making progress as a whole, and look, what we did this week is something that I think we were going to do anyways in the end for the deal. But the other elements are coming together, need to fully come together. We'll work hard.
With all due respect to the Prime Minister, that contention that we did something on Sunday that we were probably going to do anyway, to use the expression by Veronica Corningstone of Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, that is grade A baloney. Grade A baloney. If you were going to do it, if it was always on the roadmap, then why didn't you get a concession out of the United States for it? Why didn't you sit in a room with them prior to that day and say, all right, we're going to give you this, Mr. President, and then you're going to be able to go into the White House briefing room and tell Americans that you got to win. What are you going to give us so that we can claim the same? What are you going to concede on your end so that we can turn around and say, Canada, it mattered to us to have the DST, and we didn't. We took it off the table, but here's what we got in exchange. That is, I've never negotiated anything significant in my life, but, it's basic horse trading, fundamental to any deal. And he got what he wanted, and we got nothing. So don't tell me it was always part of your plan because you didn't leverage the chip that you had. He telegraphed to you that this was important to him. You could have gotten something from him, and you got nothing. So we could, and you gave him a bonus. You gave him a roadmap on how to get concessions on the dairy sector, which you have now a law on the books that says you're not going to touch. So what's going to happen when you hit that wall? I don't know. Now, that may be where you, Mr. Prime Minister, prove to us that you are the great negotiator who's going to get us the best deal. But you've put yourself in a hole. You made your job harder by doing this, by not appreciating that this was always going to end with us pulling back on the DST, and you could have gotten something for it, and you didn't. And look, on the American side, they see it the way I did. Let's listen to Carolyn Levitt, the White House press secretary.
Very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. The President made his position quite clear to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister called the President last night to let the President know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
That's all a fact. All of that is true. None of the spin coming out of Ottawa is true. And before anybody attacks me for being down on the Prime Minister, I have been giving him a lot of praise in the early days of this government. A lot of praise. So when I tell you that I see something as a failure, it's because I believe it was a failure. It was terrible. To me, it's the relics of the Trudeau days, being stuck in a position, despite facts on the ground telling you otherwise. And it surprised me that this Prime Minister was so intractable in his position, given how casually and cavalier he was about casting aside the seminal definitional law of the Trudeau years, which was the public-facing carbon tax. He was so, with a flourish and with panache, he signed away, which is something he couldn't do, but he did it for the theater of it all. He was so willing and so eager to do that. It would have been nothing for him to get rid of this. Do we have a problem in funding and protecting Canadian media? Yes. Do you fix it by taxing the other players on which we rely? No. That was Justin Trudeau's way. Controlling and changing people's behavior through taxation. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If it did work, we would add the smallest carbon footprint of any country on the planet because of that. And look, when the Toronto Star puts out an article like this, I got to read it, that Carney's getting praise and blowback for his dump. I read this. He's not getting praise. He is getting the powers, the stakeholders involved. We're happy he got rid of it. Not the way he got rid of it. That's not praise. That's saying, well, thank God you finally woke up before we crashed into the mountain. That's what he's getting. It was not praise. That's a false headline. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of The Ben Mulroney Show.